Hey guys, I wanted to thank our sponsors GameFlip ICO, where you can get paid to play video games. Check out their token sale page for more information and a chance to win $1,000 in GameFlip tokens by signing up for their newsletter. Their ICO starts on December 4th and runs until January 29th. Hey guys, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm your host Sam Capizzi at CryptoSomniac, here to bring you everything crypto related, where the markets never sleep and neither do we. I got you guys live and I want to share my opinions tonight on NEO, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach or leave them in the chat box there, and I'll try to answer them live on air. But I want to go over to you guys with what you should do about the NEO news, and I also want to share some NEO news that came out today. So yesterday we made a video about all the rumors circulating NEO, a bunch of different things going on. In fact, let me pull them above on my above screen just to summarize real quickly some of the rumors that are going on and circulating right now. Bittrex will announce that they will add gas and give holders gas for past NEO holdings, just like Binance does. BitHum will be adding NEO on Tuesday or Thursday. China will allow only NEO ICOs, initial coin offerings, on regulated exchanges. China will ban Bitcoin mining but allow NEO mining and Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core mining. China will give NEO developers technology grants. China will try to enter the Korean market and shift dominance of Ethereum ICO development to NEO. This was found from multiple different Twitter sources. There's also a news article going on or circulating, and let me just pull it up for you guys. Actually, this was in circulation. This was tweeted earlier. Here's the English translation here on the right. All things are on fast track, advancing light years a day. NEO taking action in 3 days, thus in honor of 3 lifetimes. That's supposed to be tomorrow, that third day. That's why we're seeing a lot of the NEO run up. We saw a little bit of pullback today. We're down to just under the $40 mark, down 7% on the day. And I want to share with you what I'm doing. Am I buying or selling NEO? Now, I'm going to answer that in two separate questions. And I'm going to go and show you a little bit of historical precedents as well. So my thoughts are, I don't think all these rumors are true. I think a lot of them are rumors. I don't think all of them will come true. If any of them do, we may see NEO rise in value, but I think this is too many rumors for 1 week to take place. That's a lot of great news, of course, but I'm not a big believer that it's all going to happen, at least not, in the next several days. Something I also want to compare it to, I know if it was listed on BitHum, one of the bigger cryptocurrencies in recent memory that got listed there was Monero, and we skyrocketed from $43 to above $130. We capped out around $140 due to the news that Monero was listed on BitHum, and that could be great and big for NEO. However, it's not uncommon for this to happen. A lot of people buy the rumor, sell the news, and what happens is that we have this run up, and then when it actually happens, say some of these rumors take place this week, some of them come true, and NEO tanks, and everyone's sitting wondering why. Why did it tank? Well, people may have bought the news already and sold the day of the announcement. So I don't want you guys to FOMO in. It is my classic rule that I never buy anything green. NEO is down a little bit today, but I never buy anything that's parabolic, and recently Monero. NEO has been kind of parabolic. Let's take a look at the chart the last couple of days, the 7-day chart, and we ran up pretty quickly, pretty high. We've increased from about $30 up to above $45, and I'm someone who doesn't like to chase and FOMO in. That's just me. I think if you're a short-term trader, there could be an opportune time to sell NEO actually right now. And I would never suggest selling all in one direction. I would never say sell all of your NEO right now in hopes that it'll come back down and you can get back into it cheaper. If that is the approach that you want to take and you're a short-term trader wanting to capitalize, hey, we went up from 30 to 45. That's a 50% gain. That's a lot of money. So if you want to take some profits, I'd suggest taking 25% of your holdings off the top. And if it, if it turns out to be, if it turns out that way, that it is indeed, just a quick run up that, ends up crashing, then you made out a little bit and you took some profits off the table. Now, myself, I'm a very long-term investor. I like to hold things for the long term. I'm actually keeping my NEO. I've been holding on to my NEO for quite some time, and I like to stake it because I'm big on those dividends that give you a return over time. And I think that, for me, that just gives me peace of mind. Wehowever, there's certainly opportunities to make money if you're a short-term trader. And like I said, I don't think, time and time again, we've seen run-ups. We've seen things go up in price in anticipation of a coin being listed on an exchange, being added to this, being added to that. And then the news happens, and then the coin price plummets. So you don't want to FOMO in now. It might be a little bit too late. However, there is some exceptions here. This is NEO. This isn't, one of your coins that's further down on the list. This is a pretty highly listed market capitalization cryptocurrency. We're up here high on the list at $2.5 billion. This is not your BitShares or your ARKs or your Komodos. There is a lot of backing and community behind this. So it isn't one of, like I said, run-of-the-mill coins. So maybe it does continue to run up. But like I said, if you got in early at around the, $30 mark recently, it might not be the worst time to take some profits off the top and sell some of that NEO. Like I said, I'm a long-term investor. I'm continuing to stake my NEO. I'm continuing to hold it. It gives me peace of mind. It's very easy to manage. I don't have to worry about, trading it so frequently. Am I going to hit the top? Am I in at the right time? And what I like to do is actually sell my gas when it spikes. And if we take a look at the calculator, NEO to gas, and just get a rough idea, gas is very typically around 3/4 the price of NEO, and it still is. Anytime that gas either hits NEO in 1-to-1 equilibrium or even surpasses NEO, I sell the gas. Gas was never originally meant to be traded. Just because it is tradable, people trade it. Additionally, there is no set supply on it. Da Hongfei said they can release more gas at their own discretion if they so choose. So it's not one of those coins that, or it's not a crypto. I mean, it's not something that has a hard set supply on it. So having that supply be able to change definitely could affect its price. So I'm not a big holder of, gas. I look to sell it and buy either more NEO with it to accumulate more gas or buy more Bitcoin with it. One thing I dislike about the NEO platform is that gas is so expensive. It takes about 500 gas to deploy a smart contract on the NEO ecosystem, And what that does is it can make it very hard for future ICOs to build off of that, because if they have to build smart contracts that cost them a boatload of money, that may deter them from building on some of the other platforms. As such as Quantum or Ethereum. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not a huge fan of this gas separation that we have here in NEO, and it's not something that I would suggest investing in gas itself purely. I'm not a fan of it for that reason. Additionally, while I'm here, we're also doing a giveaway, and we'll be doing a lot of giveaways soon. We're giving away some Kyber. Kyber is an ICO that I'll probably be making a video on entirely. I need to work on my presentation for that. Kyber is one of those coins I've been following in recent months, and we're giving away some. All you have to do is head over to our Facebook page. We recently started a page. You can find it here in the top of our YouTube banner and in the links of the videos below. But head over and just give our page a like. We're going to be doing a ton of live streaming from there from now on. In addition to YouTube, we're going to be giving out, like I said, some free Kyber. Anyone who likes this, we're giving away some free Kyber to one lucky person who likes this page tomorrow. And we're going to be doing a lot of live videos from this platform where we interact with you guys and give you guys a chance to ask some of your own questions. We can't share things from the Facebook group, so we recently started the page. It's also more of a professional business-like page as opposed to the group. So I encourage people to go over there and give that page a thumbs up, because we will be doing a lot of our live streams there instead of the group, so you guys can have a chance to ask some questions. I see one of your guys' questions right now, a price prediction for this round of rumors. And I think it's really hard, Scott. I'm sorry, Artifact. It's really hard to predict news. Technical analysis is often thrown out the windows when we have big news events like this, and I actually want to share some more news related to this event that just came out today. But it's really hard to speculate. Like I said, NEO is one of those coins that's far up there on the list, so if this does happen, we could see NEO run up. But like I said, in other coins, it's also not uncommon for the prices to tank once the news comes out because the price has already been factored in. A lot of people bought, remember Lisk in August, a lot of people heard about the rebranding and we're waiting for the run up. Well, it kind of already happened. We went from $1 to $5 and we hung around $5, $6 for a long time. And everyone was expecting a quicker run up because of the rebranding. Well, it was, in fact, it looked like it was already priced in. Something that might be similar is Ethereum. Metropolis was actually supposed to happen back in May. That's why we saw the huge run up in Ethereum from, $10 earlier this year, the beginning of the year, and or late last year, all the way up to 300 in the spring, and past 400 even. And we were at a stalemate, and Ethereum hasn't really moved up until recently. A lot of that is probably due to the fact that it was priced in. Metropolis had been priced in, back in spring. So keep that in mind. When I say priced in, it means people have already accounted for the news and already bought in advance of the news. So I want you to keep that in mind. It's very difficult to predict a price. I think that would be sort of unfair. For me, I'm just a hodler. I'm someone who just wants to keep staking that quantum and my NEO. So that's my approach. Scott, I'm holding all my NEO since it's all scalped anyway. Great. I think it's very wise to hold this long term. Now, I do want to share. So the original tweet came from this guy here about the news coming out of NEO on 3 days, and I showed you guys the translated version in English a moment ago. He posted two different things just recently. He posted this article, a response to some of the baseless FUD. This article looks like it calls out someone from Quantum because it ends the very end of this article saying, it basically highlights all the arguments that someone made or posed, that NEO says. And for example, NEO is a blockchain built purely on promises and rumors. There is no substance. And he responds, compared to what? Sending satellites to outer space as a marketing stunt? That is Quantum. They sent a satellite out into space recently. So I believe this article is in response to someone from Quantum's team that calls out NEO. And this guy does a really good job of defending some of the points of NEO, saying NEO is incredibly centralized. The entire network only has 13 validating nodes. Developers whitelist who can run validating nodes. Well, he says, first of all, if you intend to make claims like this, please read the white paper. There are only 7 consensus nodes. The reasons explained in the white paper. And he goes on to defend NEO and a bunch of times. The whole point of cryptocurrencies is a decentralized validation system where anyone can operate nodes and validate transactions in the network. He responds that NEO is not a currency. Moreover, you are explaining it as a slow network with intention to avoid regulation. Not sure if we failed to recommend or failed to communicate it clearly enough, but NEO Smart Economy is a fast network that operates alongside regulation. NEO's blockchain disappeared for several hours in October. He goes on to explain the whole process of distributing the new NEO tokens, the 15 million that were unlocked from the 50 million locked supply, and explained the reasoning behind NEO quote-unquote going offline. It didn't really actually go dark or offline. What happened is that if you understand how blockchain works, you would know that all 50 million of those tokens, those NEO tokens, were sent, and that 35 million of them were returned as change. And then there was actually an issue with the change address. It was a manual human error, and they corrected it. He also says NEO's GitHub is alarmingly sparse activity. He goes on to say that you shouldn't look just at commits, which GitHub displays. Commits are basically little commits in the code that people commit to, and they aren't necessarily live mainnet changes. And he argues that he'd be more concerned about the state of the project if a mainnet is launched and you still do daily protocol level code changes on that mainnet, which can be very dangerous to something that's live. They said that they've made a number of forks in the in the code and that they're working very diligently on it. Just because you don't see any commits on GitHub's end doesn't mean that there is not valid work in progress being made, whereas perhaps someone can make a bunch of commits on the GitHub page and make it look like a lot of stuff is happening and make it look pretty on the outside. Neo only has six smart contracts operating on the entire blockchain. And I mentioned this earlier, it takes 500 gas to deploy one. Gas right now is $25, so 500 times 25, that's $12,500 to deploy a smart contract. It's no cheap fee. And like I said, that is something that actually does concern me with ICOs looking to launch off the Neo platform. That can start to be a costly amount, especially as we see gas continue to rise in price. That does concern me a little bit. But it's something that I want to point out. It's something that he defends. Neo attracts scammy ICOs and dApps. Well, that's quite the opposite, since it costs 500 gas to deploy a smart contract. Neo making announcement after announcement. He defends himself again, saying, "We have a very eventful weekend with Ontology sneak peek yesterday and Neon Exchange white paper released tomorrow. On top of this, we will present something new tomorrow." No one knows what this new news is. Like I said, no one knows. I don't want you guys upset if I said sell your Neo before this news actually breaks. But what if the news is ginormous? What if it is, Neo partners with China, or Neo gets launched, or launches, BitThumb, I think, is one of the biggest exchanges in the world. That might be better than some of the other rumors circulating. Something he also tweeted, this man, that I want to point out to you guys is they're circulating fake pictures of a chat history. What he means is there are some circulating pictures of fake chat history that basically come right from him. Someone faked some pictures that said, chat history from Malcolm about regulations coming in from Neo. Basically, the news is not about regulations. He just wants to debunk that myth. There will be no news regarding regulations tomorrow, just so that everyone's clear on that. So it looks like there will be no news on regulations. So I just want to point that out there and get that cleared up to you. But like I said, it's going to be a tricky split here between what to do. Now, meanwhile, Bitcoin is really taking off. Let's take a look at the prices. We are above the 8,000 mark. We're at an all-time high, guys. This is, if you've been here with us since day one, pat yourself on the back, because Bitcoin has really, really started to take off recently. We're at $8,040. Wow. Is that sustainable, I think, is really the question. I think, in my personal opinion, I think a correction is due soon. I'm, again, a long-term hodler of Bitcoin. I've been, what separates me? Let me take the opportunity to just tell you guys a little bit more about myself. So I've been in the cryptocurrency space for about 4 to 5 years now. A lot of other YouTubers have just jumped on the bandwagon, and no harm. I don't want to put anyone down. There is a ton of great news to be brought up here in the space in cryptocurrency, but I think what really separates me from some of the other guys is I've been in it for 5 years, and I'm an engineer. I went to school for engineering. I've worked for a couple of years as an engineer. Same thing with Snay, my partner in the business. We're both engineers. We have a real strong passion for this project. I spend each night reading books on blockchain, Bitcoin, smart contracts, and I like to improve my knowledge. I don't like to think that I'm ever, an expert and that's it. I don't have anything else to learn. But I'm an engineer. I feel that I am pretty qualified in being able to explain some of this tech and spotting good opportunities, and I'm extremely critical. But I had gotten my friends on board last year. I had started investing in Monero at $1. I bought Ethereum at around $5 to $6. I was one of the early investors in a lot of this stuff. I was buying Bitcoin around $200. And I've been here and seen the space grow and evolve, and a lot of people see a lot of these great ideas popping up, and there are not as many great ideas anymore. I'm sorry, I take that back. There are a ton of great ideas, but that doesn't mean they are all going to be million-dollar projects like a lot of people think, like all these ICOs that people are trying to jump on board with and make a quick buck. Back in the day, it was a lot easier to spot some of these value propositions because there weren't a whole lot. When I first started researching Ethereum, learning how Microsoft was using it, learning what smart contracts were, learning the potential in them. I was fascinated. I tried to convince my friends to buy into Ethereum a year ago before many of them even knew what Bitcoin was. And they were speculative. And, a lot of them are kicking themselves, in the ass now because they didn't get in early. But I've been able to spot a lot of these opportunities well before anyone else did. I've been in Neo since it was under $1. I tip my hat off to Snay for that one. He really brought me to that one. But we got into that, just under $1 in the 90-cent region. And we are able to spot some of these emerging trends before they take off. And I'm very critical now of that. Everyone asks me, what is this coin? What is that one? Is this one going to take off? I do a ton of research every day into all these coins. I spend so much time trying to find the new trend, and it's not as easy as it was. But I try to share a lot of that information with you, and I want to apologize if I don't talk about every coin, but in all honesty, 95% of these cryptocurrencies aren't going to be here in a couple of years. They're just not. I mean, let's be real. They're not going to make it. This is sort of the penny stocks, of the traditional world. A lot of them are cool, trendy right now, and you can make a quick buck. But if you get stuck in them for too long, they're going to die. And I really try to provide you guys with that type of guidance where you don't have to necessarily go so deep and risk large portions of your money. And that's something that we really focus on in the Moon Lounge, which is an opportunity for you to join our trading group where we give you calls and guidance in that regard. We tell you what we're investing in our portfolio. You get access to Snay and I 24/7 to answer questions. If you have any questions about how to join that, you can email me at cryptosomniac@gmail.com. But what it is an opportunity for us to share information that we find really relevant and that we think is going to do really well over the long haul. Of course, Snay is a bit more of a short-term trader and makes calls in that regard. I love to spend time researching ideas and technology that I know is going to change and provide. I'm a really big fan of ecosystems, things that will provide infrastructure and stability for other projects, as opposed to just an individual one project, one use case project. Something like your Ethereums are ecosystems that can house many other projects. That's something I'm a fan of. We also offer some of our top selections. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, we give you guys weekly updates on the market each week to keep you guys informed. That might be a great place to learn. We share our top crypto picks of the month. And we're actually working on a subscription newsletter that you can pay to sign up for, which will be available starting probably the beginning of next year, where we're really going to break it down for you guys. We're hiring a team right now to help us craft that. We want to do a really good job, and I'd love to hear any feedback that you guys are, interested in. It'll be a much cheaper option than the Moon Lounge for you guys to subscribe to and keep completely up to date. What we do is, like I said, I research these coins hardcore and let you know what you need to be aware of instead of, having to go all over the place. And like I said, what I think separates myself from other people is that I'm an engineer. All this stuff is blockchain technology. It runs off of that, and I love to investigate the industrial use cases for these projects. Are they going to be around? How do they really change the world? Are they relevant? Like I said, I'm an early investor into a ton of these projects that took off, and I was able to spot which ones are relevant. Now there's thousands, and it becomes a lot more difficult to do that. So I spent a lot more time than even before researching coins, going to conferences, interviewing, companies, working with them. And as I work with a bunch of them, I start to learn how many of them are going to fail. It's sad to say, but a lot of them are jumping on board to just create a token and capitalize in this cryptocurrency scene. And it's a little bit unfair because it's kind of a crapshoot right now, and it seems like everything just makes you money. But, it's not going to be long until people lose significant amounts of money making poor decisions. And that's unfortunate because, the advertising that these ICOs, that the resorts that they resort to are countless. In fact, just a few days ago, my Reddit account was hacked, and I had to email support. It took me a week to finally get my Reddit account back. They changed my password. There's a cryptocurrency company out there that hacked my Reddit and posted on my behalf, since I suppose that I post a lot about cryptocurrency, and shilled one of these silly coins for no reason, said it was the next OMG, and I got banned from Reddit. I lost my account. They banned me from one of the subreddits that they posted in, and I had to argue with, support to get my account back. Luckily, everything's all right now, but it's a crapshoot, and that's unfortunate here that marketing goes to that level now. So it's my job to help bring you guys some of that curated content and filter out some of that noise. So I apologize when I don't go into a ton of these coins on the list, because I have a team here that's helping me provide this research, and I go in deep and try to understand what's going on. And not everything is worthy of mentioning. Let's face it, there's 1,000 cryptocurrencies. Let's take a look. There are 1,300 exactly now, right on the dot, 1,300. That's pretty neat. So yeah, in addition, what else do we have? I'm going to make a video this week probably on futures, and explain to you guys the CME market that's coming tomorrow. Bitcoin is launching CME futures, where you can actually bet on the price of Bitcoin in the future. And I'm going to describe to you exactly what futures are in a separate video one day this week. And it'll be really neat. I hope that you guys will enjoy it. So that's part of the reason why we see Bitcoin running up in price today. That's pretty big news for Bitcoin. And I'm just going to look at your guys' questions. Tells from Cryptosphere. 90% and 95% are percentages thrown out all the time as the percentage of coins / token projects that will fail. Research actually shows that in the .com era, approximately 80% of projects failed. Of course, failed is an objective term. Failed could mean, is it going to fail completely and die and not be around in a year or two? Or does failed just means it's not going to net you a return on investment? So I think the word failed is definitely objective, and I understand what you mean. 90 to 95% is a number that's kind of just thrown out of the window. It's thrown out of, pulled out of your hats. But, maybe that's not right. Maybe 80% of them don't die. When I say die completely, maybe that's not true, but I think, 90 to 95% of them won't go anywhere or make real progress. And when I mean real progress is give you a percentage of return that's more than, your traditional banks. This is what you want when you're investing. You guys choose to invest in cryptocurrency over the banks because you think it's going to give you a better return on investment. You think it's a better place to hold your money, right? And I think 90 to 95% of them won't provide that value that you're seeking. They won't provide that return on investment that you were hoping to get by investing in cryptocurrencies. That is something I believe in. Do I think 90 to 95% of them will fail to the point where they literally don't have an operating company anymore? Maybe not. But I think 90 to 95% will fail in the sense that they don't provide the value that you were hoping to get out of the project. Rolex, I did talk about Neo the first half of this video in large. I'm not sure if you can rewind a live video, to be honest. Hopefully you can take a look at it. I don't want to repeat a whole lot of what I said. Sunny Jane, what happened to my hand? It feels a lot better. I had started to get, I think, carpal tunnel a little bit from typing too much on the computer. I think I need to invest in one of those ergonomic keyboards. But it actually feels a lot better after buying this wrist splint. Hopefully I can take it off in a few days. But thanks, Tells from the cryptocurrency sphere. Yeah, like I said, I really think that a lot of these projects won't provide you the value that you were hoping to get out of them. Maybe they're not dead, like they don't even exist anymore. I'm sure Bitcoin Cash will be here in a year or so. There's always going to be this minor group of people, and honestly, I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think it's going to provide you anything. I mean, it's kind of intuition or intuitive that whenever there's a fork, one of them is eventually going to die. That's just the nature of it. There's really only a necessary for one as people flock and create an ecosystem and a market on one, the other one's eventually just going to die. So, there might be a small subset of people that continue to mine it and work off of that chain, but it might not, it might not be worth anything, substantial in the future, Bitcoin Cash. Something also, guys, why don't you do me a favor and hit that that bell button. I'll show you guys. I don't see it on mine, but hit this bell button right here so you get notifications for when I'm live in the future. It's right. If you go to my YouTube thing, I don't have it because of course, I'm a subscriber of my own channel already, or I can't subscribe to myself. I don't even know. So I don't have a bell. Hit that bell so you guys know when I'm subscribing. Scott Ellis says Litecoin was a fork and it's not dying. That is true. Litecoin basically is a fork of Bitcoin, but it also it's still very young. Let's see what happens. I don't think there will be a need for Litecoin and Bitcoin. If we fast forward 10 years, I don't think there's a need for both. I think one of them ends up dying. And Litecoin may continue to be a test net like it kind of is for Bitcoin and continue to grow. But let's see. In 10 years, one of them is going to outpace the other in gains. That's a fact. I doubt that they'll be on level playing field. Litecoin is also a bit different. It's not a fork where it just tweaks very small parameters of the Bitcoin protocol like Bitcoin Cash did. It tweaked very specific they tweaked very specific parameters in Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin tweaked a bunch of different things, and they've have the ability to add Lightning Network a lot faster than Bitcoin is. So there is a little bit of a difference there's more of a difference in Litecoin to Bitcoin than there is in Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin in that sense, in that fork. So maybe Litecoin does live on, but in all honesty, what I really think is going to happen in 10, 15 years is that there's going to be 15 or 30 cryptocurrencies that are really the set big ones that do the job. For example, we don't need Ethereum, Neo, Lisk, Quantum, EOS. We have so many platforms. Eventually, one is going to probably be the best, or two. Of course, some of them will have different features that just aren't possible on one or the other. But let's be real. Like, there's 10, 20 platforms in the top 30 or 40 right here. We just don't need that many. It's just a fact. And that's kind of why we diversify our portfolio, guys, because it's not common knowledge as to which one will exceed or proceed, or what's the word I'm looking for? Live on. It's not common knowledge, so that's why we diversify. But in the future, I think we'll have 15 to 30 cryptocurrencies that do all of the work that's needed. We won't need 10 versions of Bitcoin, 10 versions of privacy like Monero, Verge, what's that one that's on the tip of my tongue? Cloak, Pivx. Is Pivx a privacy coin? I forget. We won't need all these different versions. We won't need 10 different Steemits and a bunch of different advertising mediums and decentralized exchanges, Kybers, 0x, and BitShares. We don't need all of these. So I really think in the future we'll be condensed into like 15 to 30 cryptos that really do exactly what they need, and that a lot of those other ones will end up dying. I don't want to deviate from the topic, but can we discuss Metal Pay? What I would suggest is sign up for our newsletter, and maybe we'll give you guys that report for free. Metal was actually a cryptocurrency that we did an in-depth, I forget if it was 10 or 15 page report on in the Moon Lounge. And that's part of what value you get in the Moon Lounge. You get access to our reports, early access to premium content where we go into depth in things that you guys are interested about. Like, our most recent report was on mining. I think the one we're developing now is on Neo and China, and taking a deep dive down into it. We have a great team that helps us write some of those reports out. And like I said, Metal was actually one of those reports we did a couple of a couple of weeks ago, or actually a month or two ago now, when we started the Moon Lounge. Maybe we'll just give it out to all of you guys in the newsletter. It's one of those, like I said, old reports. I'll work on getting that out to you guys. My thoughts on it, though, just as an overview, I didn't like it, honestly, that much because they targeted two industries that I can't stand behind entirely, even though I'm sure there's a market for it. What Metal did is they went after markets that were untapped. They went after the pornographic industry and the marijuana industry because they felt that there was a need for better process of payment handling in those markets, especially because, for example, marijuana is extremely new. However, those markets aren't established yet and make me a little bit cautious. They are trying to, become first movers in those industries, but they're not proven industries. The marijuana industry is still very speculative, and I think it's going to take time to settle out who are the leaders in that industry and how things will proceed. But that is something that I did not like about Metal. We also compared Metal briefly to Monetha, another one of payment processors out there. Something that I would suggest also taking a look at that I've worked very closely with. I've worked with the Utrust team. I've actually helped create the Utrust white paper, just so you guys know. Take a look at Utrust. It is very similar in what they can do. And I feel like they're a little bit broader than just attacking the pornographic and marijuana industries. So those are some of my light introduction to Metal. Sign up for our newsletter, and this week I'll work on sending that newsletter out to you guys. It's a couple of months old, but I don't think any of it is outdated. We talk mainly about what what Metal is, and a little bit about what Monetha is and what we think about it. But I don't think it talks about anything that's really outdated too much. Tells from Cryptosphere. What are the 30 that will succeed? So Bitcoin, Ethereum, these things are proven, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Something I'm a huge fan of as well is Quantum, Neo, Monero. So like I said, Monero is something that I've been invested in when it was $1, and I tried to get my friends in it. I wish I could pull up. One day, if you guys are really interested, I can show you my purchase history. I can show you that I purchased Monero at $1, Ethereum at $7. And what it allowed me to do is, and what I try to do with you guys is, you can purchase 500, 600, 1,000 of these when they're cheap. You can't purchase 1,000 Bitcoin unless you're, pretty well off. But you can afford to purchase 1,000 EOS or 1,000 Kyber. Some of these projects we've been talking about recently, 1,000 ARK, and get in at ground level and watch that rise over the course of a year, so that you look back and go, damn, I wish I would have got me a couple hundred Monero or a couple hundred Ethereum. And that's what I did. So that's what I try to focus on now. I try to get you guys in some of those ground level coins. And of course, we don't know what 30 will be here in 30 years. But I'm constantly monitoring the market, and that's what I'm here for. I'm always telling you and updating you guys. And like I said, we're creating this in a subscription format where you can receive it via email. Imagine like a Bloomberg report that you get monthly that you pay for. We're going to be doing that for a much cheaper price than the Moon Lounge. And I think it's going to be real good, especially if you're one of those guys that just, wants to stay up to date with the market and receive that information very clean and curated very well. We're actually spending a lot of time investing resources and projects to get that rolled out by January and make it professional and something that no one else has, in the sense that it's not as comprehensive and just well thought out as we had. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on what you might want to see in that report. So I might be wrapping it up here soon, guys. What I suggest is, again, we're giving away free Kyber tomorrow to anyone who likes the Facebook page. We really want to get you guys in there because we're going to be doing a lot of live streams over there. So head over to it and like it for a chance to win some free Kyber tomorrow. Like I said, hit that bell so you know when I'm live in the future. I'll just go to another channel, show you the bell since it doesn't show up on mine. Right there, hit that bell, and let me know your thoughts. Let me know when what you guys are interested in, what topics you want me to explore. Feel free to reach out at cryptosomniac@gmail.com with any suggestions or things that we could be doing better. questions about the Moon Lounge if you're interested. I also take one-on-one appointments. I offer a money-back guarantee on those as well, and you can also book one with Snay if you've seen him. You can book them right here on the link here through Setmore. We offer a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy with what advice and support we give you, you just got to let me know, guys. I'm extremely fair. We haven't had anyone offer or ask for money back. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. If you're looking, for the Neo News, rewind the video back to the beginning. And I hope all of you guys enjoyed it. So thanks again for tuning in. And remember, stay a crypto somniac because the rich never sleep.